Good morning, it's Leanne Peters here. I'm from templeofbalance.com.au, Temple of Balance on Facebook and Temple of Balance on YouTube, and I am here to pull some cards and share some guidance for this week ahead. That's this week starting Monday the 4th of January through till Sunday the 10th of January. So I trust you had a happy new year and your last week was really nice and flowing. I have a giggle because it was pretty intense. This last week feels like it was a week's worth of stuff that a lot of us have been through. So I trust that you're weathering the storm reasonably well, we could say, and that this message finds you well today. I want to send out an extra special welcome to my Temple of Balance patrons, my Pillar of Light family, and all of those of you who support my work through my website. Thank you so much for your support. If you're new to watching, welcome. What I'm going to be doing is using my combined Speed of Light Oracle cards with my Animal Kingdom Oracle cards, and I'll be looking for the best cards for this week ahead. I'll be laying the cards out intuitively on my trusty chair here that's beside me, and then I'll share what I'm feeling from the cards. I have a note here from myself not to talk so much because the last couple of weekly guidance videos that I've reconnected with just to get my bearings throughout the week, I just feel like I'm just talking way too much. So it just seems very drawn out. So I've made a note to hopefully not talk quite so much today. But the thing is, I have a lot to say. And if I feel that there is something that I could share that might be helpful, then I will speak it. So I will try and just curb my talking a bit, but I also don't want to censor myself. I don't want to not offer you advice or something that I feel might be helpful. So I'll try and balance the two out. We'll see how we go. So I'm looking for the best cards and to share the best guidance that we can for the majority of us for this week ahead, starting the 4th of January through till Sunday the 10th of January. And I'll also be pulling a theme card. Oh, thank you everybody. So I'm not pulling cards for individuals. This is a collective reading for those who are drawn to be here. So I trust that you've been led here for a reason, and I trust that something shared will help support you at this time. As always, please take on board what feels right and what resonates and what fits into your life easily, and then let the rest go. So if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't matter, just let it go. So really pay attention to the little bits and pieces that really speak to you. You know, like I am talking directly and only to you. If you get that feeling, then you can trust that information. So let's get started. I'm shuffling my cards here, and welcome. We've got a few new people here. Welcome to all of our new people who are connecting, and also to my regular viewers. So I'm shuffling my cards and I'm holding the intention to find the best cards that the majority of us need for this week ahead, starting Monday the 4th of January through to Sunday the 10th of January. And I am coming to you live now from Tasmania, Australia. It is Monday the 4th of January here at exactly 10:34 a.m. So the best cards that we need moving ahead, and I'm just getting a visual now in my mind's eye as to how to lay these cards out. So I usually see a number in this case, or a letter. In this case, I'm seeing the number 7. So I'm laying out the cards in the shape of a number 7. And we'll go from there. I've been doing it that way for a very, very long time, before I even started Temple of Balance. Okay, let's turn over these cards and see what we've got. Okay, we have one featured card. The lizard. It says here to take the third card from the top of the deck to add with the lizard. So I'll go down 1, 2, 3 to this card here. And we've got overlapping worlds, so that will go with the lizard. Okay, very interesting, because I don't know if you watched last week's video, but a lot was talked about around boundaries. And remember, I had this weird visual of these lambs that are being fenced, and the lambs, the weaker lambs, representing the weaker parts of ourselves. And we were being encouraged to work out which lame lambs we wanted to get out of our boundary space, our fence, and which lambs we wanted to nurture and allow grow into woolly adult sheep. Which is a bit strange, but it's funny because the very first card we've got for this week is the wolf card, and it's card 48, and it says to secure those boundaries. So we're overflowing from, let's say, I think it was later last week when some of us may have been looking at our boundaries and basically where we're giving our energy, where we're giving our power away, and how we can sort of secure that or secure those boundaries a little stronger for ourselves. So we're starting the week again with this energy quite strong, where we're being encouraged to really look at our boundaries, how we spend our time, where we're giving our power away, and noticing what about that is healthy, what about that is supportive. And if something that we're giving our power away to is not healthy or not supportive, then what can we do about maybe detaching and reaffirming, resecuring our boundaries. So this is about keeping our energy space as high, positive, calm, stable, whatever is important to us as individuals, keeping our personal space as positive or whatever as possible. And sometimes that means we need to kind of reel our energy back in, because sometimes we give our attention away to things in our life that aren't working, problematic areas of our life as well, people in our life that are maybe responsible for something that we're dealing with that we're not really happy about. So there can be all different reasons why. We might even be distracting ourselves from looking at ourselves and looking at our life by focusing on what other people are or aren't doing. So as soon as we externalize, we're taking our energy outside our boundary, outside our space, and we're basically giving our power away to all of these things. So what can you do to bring your power back, bring your focus back, bring your attention to the things that are really important to you? So one thing I love to remind myself if I've been a bit distracted by outside things, and I catch myself doing that, is I remind myself to tend to the nest. And what that means to me is to tend to the things that are important to me. So the things that I do have control over, the things that I am responsible for, the things that I'm dealing with in my everyday immediate surroundings, for example, the things that I have the ability to change or improve. So tend to the nest is what I remind myself if my focus has been a little bit too external or taking a bit too far away from myself, if that makes sense. So I trust that makes sense. That's for early in the week. So we're looking Monday the 4th, Tuesday the 5th of January, securing our boundaries, very favourable for that. And we have this card again. We had this last week. It's card 53 called Gathering. And it says helping, ready, leader, and meeting. So this is for around midweek, so around the 6th of Wednesday, the 6th of January. And this talks about the gathering of like minds, or a meeting of some sort, or it could be the getting together of friends, of family, of people who have a common interest in something. And that this gathering, it might be a small group, it might be a large group. It doesn't matter of the size, it's the gathering that's important. It may even be online, it doesn't have to be in person, but this is the gathering together of people, which is really important. It's instinctual for us humans to gather together, so it feels a bit alien for us to be kind of persuaded to keep our distance and stand back, don't hug, don't interact with each other. It's very alien to us because I do feel instinctually we have this force, this almost a gravitational pull to interact with other people, to gather together. So let's allow and honour that, especially around midweek, if that's something that's come up or something we need to organise. I've actually, funnily enough, I have organised 2 gatherings, Wednesday and Thursday, to help bring people together. We don't have a lockdown or anything here We haven't since June, thankfully. But yeah, maybe there's something you need to organise. Maybe get some family together or create a Zoom meeting or something so you can interact with those people that are important to you. So there is a leadership quality in this card too. So maybe it is for you about thinking about instigating or setting a date or trying to get people together to interact. It may only be 2 or 3 people, and that doesn't matter. So have a think about how that resonates with you and what you've been thinking about. If you've been craving company, then maybe you can be the one to instigate, to find a date, find a time, find a venue, find an online space for you to gather together and just connect. Just to connect. So then we have, this is around Thursday, so Thursday the 7th of January. We have the Twin Flame card, card 39. It says love, union, togetherness, equal and effort. This is about being a favourable time, especially around Thursday, for our relationships. So this could be our closest relationships, our intimate relationships, but it could also be connected with our relationships with our children, our parents, our close friends. So what's your connection? What's your relationship with other people? And how is this applying for you? But very favourable for romantic relationships. But this sense of seeing eye to eye, this sense of coming together and being on the same wavelength, when especially if we've been feeling like we're on different wavelengths with someone recently, then maybe getting together, maybe creating or organising some type of gathering might help get you and another person on the same page again. And usually it comes down to communication or lack of communication. So this sense of seeing eye to eye, this sense of rekindled flame between ourselves and others is coming through for around Thursday, the 7th of January. So see how that fits for you. Then the energy takes a bit of a turn. So around Friday, the 8th of January, the energy takes a little bit of a turn and it may start to get a little heavier for us, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but there is a bit of a heavier energy that's coming in for Friday, the 8th of January. We have the Gorilla card 9, and he says to do the right thing. And look, he's stern, he's serious, he's got attitude, and he means business. So there is probably something, especially around Friday, where we're going to be encouraged and inspired and pushed to do the right thing, remembering that sometimes the right thing is not necessarily what we want. Sometimes what we want may not necessarily be what is right. So especially what is right by others or what is right in this situation. So really aligning it or checking it out in with our, checking it, what's the word? Like checking it up against our truth detector. But there is this firm sense for Friday, this sense of holding ground, maybe a sense here too of stubbornness or being like a mountain, being a force. There is a sense of independence and strength that's also coming through for Friday, and this very strong feeling of embodying the truth and what the truth is for us. Remembering, from what I feel anyway, based on my experience, is that our truth changes, it evolves, it grows. As we grow and evolve, our truth also grows and evolves. If your truth has become set in stone and is rigid, and you've got to push and preach and try and convince other people to believe the truth that you believe, then it is no longer a truth. It has become a belief. And beliefs we will need to defend until the end of time, because they are carved in stone. And they're usually things that we have been told, not usually things, or that we've come to believe based on our experiences. They're not usually things that we have discovered ourselves. So keep in mind, from what I've noticed anyway, that our truths evolve as we grow and evolve. So the truths I have today, which are quite strong for me, they may change tomorrow, because I may see something in my life from a different perspective, a different angle, that may challenge or have me question my truth that I was feeling to be true for however long. So I have to be willing to let my truths evolve and grow with me. Otherwise, they will become beliefs that will hold me back. So what have you become stern and stubborn and fixed about? And maybe through Friday too, you can consider, if it's applicable for you, have you become too stubborn? Have you become too fixed? Have you become too obsessed with your supposed truth or belief that you cannot stand if other people don't feel or think the same way as you? Because that will limit us. So it feels to be favourable on Friday to really look at our truths, our beliefs, where we're feeling stubborn, where we're feeling fixed or fixated, and what we can do perhaps about healing or releasing or moving through that energy to allow a new truth to shine through. And then we move into the weekend. So we have Saturday the 9th of January. And just welcome everybody, but I'm not pulling cards for individuals. I don't do that on my videos, but I do trust that something shared supports you at this time. So this is for Saturday the 9th of January, and we have the Cheetah, card 4. And the Cheetah says to focus on your strengths. We can also add to that, think about on the weekend, especially early in the weekend, to focus on the things that are working for you. Sometimes we spend too much time fixating on the things in or the areas of our life that aren't working. I think it's good to be realistic about the things that aren't working and make some changes or improvements so that we can maintain our balance, but we can go overboard by not actually proactively changing anything, but fixating on the problem or fixating on the sort of weaknesses that we notice in our life. So think about it, make changes if you can, but don't think about it and not do anything about it, if that makes sense. If you focus too intently on the things that aren't working without proactively doing something about it, it's going to drain your energy. It's going to drain you. So we're being encouraged through Cheetah's energy to really think about focusing on our strengths and the areas of our life that are working. And also maybe I'm just feeling here on how far we've come, how strong we may be or may have noticed ourselves to be. Maybe, and one thing I noticed a lot last year for me personally was me realizing that I was actually more capable than I gave myself credit for. So what are you perhaps more capable than you realize? These are the types of things that we may be thinking about early in the weekend. And then we have Sunday, the 10th of January. We've got these two cards, so they've come up together for a reason. I'm going to look at them separately and then we'll look at their relationship together. This is card 3, the Lizard. And the Lizard says optimism, appearances, delusion and illusion. So he talks about things on the surface. And the things on the surface, the shiny paint, the fantastical words, the things that are being portrayed or delivered to us or shown to us, revealed to us on the surface, we may be quite taken by, quite appealed by those words or appealed by that shiny paint. They might just be, like a moth moving, being drawn to the light. But this card is showing that we need to just consider being a little aware, and perhaps even cautious of the shiny exterior and how things are being presented on the outside, because there is something deeper for us to look at here. So instead of skimming the surface of the watery areas of our life or the things that this is representing, this card is reminding us or encouraging us to drop under the surface, that there is something to see underneath. And this does not necessarily mean that we shouldn't proceed, but it's to get more information. So, for example, if we're looking at a car, then we might be really drawn to the write-up, the words, the appeal, the shiny colour, how things look on the outside. We might be really drawn to that and think this is a really good deal, da 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 da. Then this card is encouraging us to look under the bonnet, to look at the fine print of things that we may be wanting to commit to make sure that we have all of the information. So if you look under the bonnet and you see actually this is not the right engine for this car, then that might be a bit of a problem. It might be okay for you, which might mean you can get the price down a bit. So it doesn't necessarily mean don't proceed. It's just reminding us or encouraging us to look under the bonnet, to look under the surface to get more information. So we may need to also be willing to let something go if it's not exactly as spoken. You know, I think of the narcissists too. They're very charming with their words. So they will make a mouldy apple seem like a really beautiful thing with their charming words. So it's just something to just be aware of, perhaps around Sunday the 10th of January. And it's connected with this card. So let's look at this first of all on its own. It's card 23, called Overlapping Worlds. And it says reception, senses, beacon, frequency, and veil. This talks about being in between things, which I like to call the transitional period. You know the feeling, I'm sure, when we're in between change. It's like being in the corridor, in the hallway. We've just left a room and we're looking for the new room to enter. Another good example of this, which many of us can likely relate to, is when we're in between moving home. So we might have found a new home, but we're waiting for that date to come. We're waiting for that time to arrive. So we're spending our final days, we could say, our final weeks or months in our old home packing, but we feel a bit unsettled because we've got this new door that's about to open, but we still have to live in the old world, in the old home for now. So that's what I would call a transitional period, where we're in between change. And that's what this card is very much highlighting on Sunday, is this feeling of being in transition and being in between changes. A couple of really good things to keep in mind with this energy, which is very unsettling, is that it's always temporary, because we're always temporarily moving from one door through the hallway to the next door. It might span out a day, it might span out weeks, it may span out months, hopefully not years, because that's a long time to put your life on hold, to be in between changes. But it is always temporary, this space. So you might feel a bit unsettled and you might not perhaps even know really why. But keep reminding yourself that it is a temporary feeling that you're having and that you're in between change. And maybe you're in between change without even knowing it. And that's actually where this card comes into play, because it feels like that we're in between change. So we're in this transitional period under the surface. On the outside, things may seem okay, although if we stop and really think about it, we might see that, hey, this relationship feels a bit off. This area of my work life doesn't quite feel right. There might be this sense of something not quite feeling right that we're noticing, but we're not quite dropping deep in to realize that, hold on, we're in between change. So this feels like it could be quite deep. If we're not willing to go deep, then we might just sail through Sunday quite fine, looking at the shiny objects and the glossy, vibrant paint, and just being drawn by those shiny things that really are distractions. So if we have the courage, let's drop deeper under the surface. Let's look under the bonnet. Let's recognize that we are actually in an in-between period. We're in limbo, we could say as well, a time of transition, a temporary time in between changes. So sometimes this happens without us really realizing it, because, you know, if we're moving home, we've got the reasons why we feel unsettled, because, you know, we're preparing to move or what have you. But there can also be big changes that we go through in our life or in our body, in ourselves, with our attitude, where we don't even realize that we're changing. So it might be something to keep in mind for Sunday the 10th. So I trust that resonates. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am going to pull a card to see what the theme card is for this week. But before I do that, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. If you have enjoyed the video and you've got something out of it, please hit the thumbs up button. Please show us some love. please comment or share if you're inspired to. And if you want to connect more privately, please send us a message through our website. So I have my online art class coming up on Zoom this Saturday, the 9th of January. If you want to join me, it's about 2 hours online art class, and we'll be doing intuitive art. So intuitive expression. It doesn't matter what materials you want to use. It could be paint, pencils. I'll be using pastels, and you don't have to have any art experience. So if you feel like you've got this inner stuff, or you've been feeling lately that you want to just have some expression time and you would like to be supported with that, then please have a look on my website, templeofbalance.com.au. Follow the prompts to the online art class on Saturday. I've got very strong energy coming through this morning for our next 12-hour healing marathon event, which I have penciled in for the 4th of February. And it's going to be focused around heart. That is the theme, heart. So I'm very eager around that. I may release some stuff today or tomorrow around that and open that up, but it's still a month away. But keep an eye out for that if you might be interested. And if you want to learn more about me and the work I do at Temple of Balance, please visit templeofbalance.com.au. Thank you so much. Thank you for your support. So I'm looking for the best card for the theme. So the theme card will help bring this whole week together and help us see the bigger picture for the week from the 4th till the 10th of January. So the best card for the theme for the majority of us is this here. Thank you. And this has been our card for the day. Was it today's card for the day? Anyway, it's come up the last couple of days twice. The Stag card 42, New Direction. Interesting. So this is reminding us that this week that we are actually being steered in a new direction. This makes that change that I talked about, the changes, make a little more sense. So we are being pulled in a new direction, and especially this coming week. So you may feel a sense of something brewing, something changing or change in the air, and you've been encouraged, we've been encouraged to move with that new direction this week. So the stag, he's got these wonderful antlers here on the top of his head, and I think and feel of these being like antenna. So you know, like the old rabbit ear antennas, and we move them on. Used to move them on the TV screen to get the best reception. That's what we used to do here. I don't know if you did that too, back in the old days. But there's this sense too with the stag's antlers, reminding us to just make sure we're tuned in, so that we are aligned with our intuition, with our instincts, and that we're in the flow. So if we're resisting change, if we don't want the change to happen, if we're resisting it somehow or we're scared of it, then we're probably going to disrupt that connection or disrupt the flow of the new direction that's calling us and that's pulling forward in our life, pulling through for us, if that makes sense. So we're being encouraged to trust our instincts, trust our intuition, and trust where we're being led this coming week. It may be totally different from what we thought, where we thought we'd be going, maybe last week, maybe last month, maybe, well, we could say last year or the year before. Maybe it's a very different place that we find ourselves right now. So can we push through the resistance that we feel and move with the energy to go in the new direction that we're being pulled, the new direction that we're being enticed, or that we're being forced to take? Can we go with it this week as we're being encouraged to trust in the new direction that we're being led? And I feel this stag, he's standing in front of us on our life's path. Like if our life's path right now was a dirt track in the middle of the bush, we would say in Australia, the middle of the forest or the jungle or whatever other people might call it. But this really narrow dirt track, and the stag is standing just ahead, a metre or two ahead of us on this dirt track, looking back at us, enticing us to follow this new path. to trust our instincts, to trust in one foot in front of the other that we place, as we place one foot in front of the other, and trust where this path goes. Trust in our intuition as we're being led forward, as we feel our way forward. So interesting, there's actually quite a lot of change energy around this week. And then just some everyday stuff, really, that's coming up. So see how you go. See how it fits and flows, but you might not know where it fits and flows yet until you start living your week out. That's where it will make more sense. So please come back and connect with the replay of this video throughout the week as needed. It will be pinned to the top of my Temple of Balance Facebook page. You will find it on the video tab on my website and also on my YouTube channel, Temple of Balance on YouTube. So thanks so much for watching. Have a fantastic week ahead. Happy birthday, happy anniversary to anyone who might be celebrating. And I will be back next week on Monday the 11th of January for the next weekly guidance. So keep an eye out, and I will most likely pop in throughout the week for some healing support videos on my Temple of Balance Facebook page. Take care of yourself. Thank you for spending your precious time with me today, and have a great week. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.